you guys from Salem. We are on part 2 of our crazy fall week-long trip. We got here last night. It is currently 4 o'clock. And let me tell you, time change difference hit us way harder coming back to the Eastern time zone because our bodies thought it was earlier than it was. So we got in around 11:30. By the time we got to the hotel, got our bags, got some food, it was like 1:30. Honestly, we probably went to bed around 2. We're actually staying in Peabody, which is I guess like a little suburb or like little town about halfway between Boston and Salem. It's really, really nice. If you guys are looking for a hotel on a budget, highly recommend checking out the Peabody area because hotels in Salem, obviously like this time of year, Salem is pretty expensive. So we're staying in Peabody, and this morning we got up and we went and got some coffee, and then honestly we were just feeling like garbage, so we ended up going to the grocery store. We got some fruits and veggies and stuff, came back to the hotel, took a nap, and now we're venturing out for the evening. We're here until tomorrow around this time. We have a jam-packed 24 hours. I can't wait to take you guys along. I think I'm going to try, I'm calling it like the Allison Bickerstaff travel vlog style of doing like a voiceover. I think I'm going to try that out. We are heading into Salem now. I think we're gonna walk along Essex Street, which is kind of like their main street with all of the like witchy stores and stuff, and kind of go in some shops and some bookstores and then grab dinner. Then tomorrow we're gonna kind of do more like the touristy historical things, the Hocus Pocus filming locations, the like Salem Witch Museum, and all those kind of like monuments and areas. So that is the plan. We're gonna head into Salem now. I think we're gonna try and go to Rockefeller's for dinner. That came highly recommended by some of you guys. I feel like because we were just at Disneyland, we're like a little tired of like the fast food, so we're trying to find a bit of a nicer restaurant for dinner. But there was also the Flying Saucer pizza, which came highly recommended, and I'm gonna take you guys along for the first day, and I'm so excited to be here. Depending where you went in Salem from where we were staying, it was like a 5 to 15 minute drive. So it was really nice and close. So we made our way into Salem and just walked around and explored some of the stores. We were just so excited to be here and just experience the history and the old homes and everything that Salem had to offer. The Moon's gift shop was definitely our favorite. It had the least touristy and the most unique things. These were beautiful shells that almost had like paper mache Halloween paint on them, which obviously pays homage to like New England, and their souvenirs were amazing. We bought the most of them here, and then we just walked around and explored some of the stores. It was a lot of small businesses and local artists, which I absolutely love, and not just kind of like cheaply made souvenirs, which was great. They even had like a wand Harry Potter store. We were in love. And just so many beautiful handcrafted local pieces. Then we headed to Rockefeller's for dinner, and this was amazing. We still talk about how good the dinner was. We got some really awesome seasonal cocktails. I put a little overlay of what they had here. So many pumpkin beers as well. I was in heaven. We got a spinach dip to start, and I got like a fall cinnamon Aperol spritz, and Matt got some kind of like ginger beer autumn drink. And our food was divine. I got a dill pickle chicken sandwich, and Matt got steak tips, and they were so yummy. Then we explored some more stores. We found a comic book store, and they had every single fandom here, whether it was like Marvel, horror, Lord of the Rings. They even had a bunch of what we do in the shadows, including Pop Funkos, which I of course had to pick up. Matt and I were literally in heaven. We spent probably an hour in the store just looking at all the Funkos and the comic books and everything. It was so much fun. They even had a ton of horror comic books and graphic novels. Of course, some Scarlet Witch stuff. We ended the night at Dairy Witch Ice Cream, which was just this spot that we kind of stumbled upon, and it was so good. Just like your little hole in the wall ice cream shop. I got pumpkin soft serve with Oreo. It was divine. And of course, we had to end the night off with Hocus Pocus since we were going to be going to a few of the filming locations tomorrow. Perfect way to end the night with a little pumpkin beer and one of our favorite nostalgic movies. Good morning, you guys. It is the next day. We just checked out of our hotel. We have a jam-packed day today. We had a really fun evening last night. We ended up going to Rockefeller's for dinner, which was so good. We got some like spooky seasonal cocktails. I got a cinnamon Aperol spritz. It was delicious. Matt got some sort of cherry ginger beer drink. I got a dill pickle fried chicken sandwich. It was divine. Matt got these marinated steak tips. He said they were the best ones ever. He's just running in right now because he forgot his suit in the room. We're a little bit of like a hot mess this morning. We just kind of meandered around, and then we went and got ice cream at just this like cute little hole in the wall place. I think it was called the Dairy Witch, but it was like one of those like old fashioned like walk up or like little drive through ones. And I got a pumpkin Oreo sundae, and it was so delicious. They had pumpkin soft serve with crumbled Oreos on it. It was divine. Matt said that was the best hot fudge sundae he had ever had. So we had those. We did a quick stop at Trader Joe's because you guys know we don't have Trader Joe's in Canada. Or if you're new here, we're actually from Canada, so we don't have Trader Joe's. So we picked up a few pumpkin goodies, And then we ended the night off with Hocus Pocus in bed with a pumpkin beer, which just sounded right because we're going to go to some of the Hocus Pocus filming locations today. I ended up buying a sweater yesterday because it is, well, it's the same weather as California. It's just a lot windier here. And I think it's just because we're near the water and we didn't really pack many sweaters just because it was supposed to be pretty warm. And it is warm, but it's windy. So I ended up grabbing this sweater yesterday from one of the gift shops and I absolutely love it. It feels like touristy, but not too touristy. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like not a cheap material sweater. And I just like love the salt and pepper of it. I was like, I should have bought a sweater. And I was like, well, we can get matching sweaters though. You could go get one. And for today is we're going to honestly try and jam pack as much as possible because we need to head out around 2 or 3 to head to Connecticut for the wedding. Luckily, most of the things to do and see in Salem are kind of all in a central area. There are a few like one-off spots that you would either need to like walk further to or drive to. I definitely think that you could do without a rental car here if you were staying right in Salem, just because everything is pretty walkable. We just kind of already have the rental car because we came in from Boston and we're going to Connecticut, and it does make things a little bit easier just because we were able to stay a little bit outside of Salem and obviously save some money on our hotel. But I think that if you're staying in Salem, you definitely don't need a rental car. Everything is pretty walkable, especially if you come at this time of year where the weather is really nice. You got it.
I got it.
I can leave kind of everything that we're doing today and like the order we're doing it in for you guys down below in case you guys are planning a trip, but most of the things that we want to do are on Essex Street for the most part, and if they're not, we're just gonna kind of either drive to them after on our way out. We're exactly 4.5 miles from Essex Street, so Peabody's a really great option if you want to stay a little bit further out and you have a car. But let's go get some coffee because I really need it. Starting your day off on Essex Street is a great place to do it because it's kind of the focal point of everything you're going to do, whether you're shopping or doing landmarks, tourist attractions. First stop we went to was Black Craft, and they have this huge witch statue. We were in awe of it. It's a huge gift shop. They also have a small coffee shop in the back, but when you get there, go put your name on the wait list right away just because it can only fit a few people at a time, and then you can browse around in the store as you're waiting for your name to be called. They had so many amazing souvenirs and just like items for Halloween lovers like me, and we had so much fun in here. It was a really big store with a bunch of different vendors. Then we got to go inside the coffee shop, and oh my goodness, was it themed so well. I was so obsessed with this place as a witchy lover. I got the Good Witch. It was absolutely delicious. I am still thinking about this coffee, and honestly some of the best coffee we've ever had. Then on our way to the witch house, we walked in a few more stores, and once again I was just kind of in awe of all of the local artists and vendors to support, and I'm really glad that we got to support local when we were buying souvenirs. We stopped in the Black Veil. We loved that store, and then it was time to walk by the witch house, which I feel like is one of those monuments you kind of know about Salem. This is actually one of the only buildings left standing that has direct ties to the Salem witch trials. It was the home of Judge Jonathan Corwin, who was involved with the witch trials because he was one of the judges who was involved in the pursuit of the witches and accusing them. Just a few steps away is the Ropes Mansion, which you guys might recognize as Allison's house from Hocus Pocus, but it actually has a lot of rich history in the town of Salem itself. It's actually one of New England's most significant and thoroughly documented historic houses, and you can walk around in the garden, and in the back next to that is the Salem Athenaeum. It's one of the oldest membership libraries in the United States, and typically you can visit it, but it was sadly closed when we were there, which is a bummer because it was one of the things I was the most excited about. The McIntyre Historic District actually starts around where Ropes Mansion is, so we just continued walking around and taking in all of the beautiful homes. It is a combination of federal and Georgian style homes, and especially on a fall day with a hot cup of coffee, it was such a joy to walk around and take this in. This district is actually named after Salem's most celebrated architect carver. His name was Samuel McIntyre. He lived here. His major commission was the Pierce Nichols House, and he also did Hamilton Hall, which are both buildings that are preserved within this area and open to the public. If you're big into architecture like we are, they do have some walking tours. One of them I believe is called Salem's Hidden Architectural Stories and Sinister Streets, in case you're visiting and you're interested. It was also just so fun to see everyone decorate for Halloween and get in the spirit. Then we headed to breakfast at Fountain Place. We always try to go to a diner when we're in a new city, so we had that. Affordable, delicious, great. Then we walked to Old Town Hall, which is actually the town hall that they use in Hocus Pocus when the parents go to their Halloween party. There was also some stores in this area. Nocturne was highly recommended, so we went and checked that out. And I just love theming of all of these stores. They just make my Halloween loving heart so happy. These like little tiny pumpkin fairies, and this was probably my favorite store that we went in. We had a lot more outdoor activities and landmarks to check out this day, but it was really on and off raining. And as you can tell here, it was really windy out. And we made our way over to the Salem Witch Museum, which once again, just kind of one of those monuments
monuments you recognize when people talk about Salem. We didn't go just because I feel like we know a lot about the trials, but it was really cool to see it. And then we stopped to get coffee at Brew Box. We had really great coffee here. And once again, the art and the theming everywhere is just so beautiful. Then we stopped at the Charter Street Cemetery. It's also known as the Old Burying Point Cemetery, and this is the oldest maintained cemetery in Salem and one of the oldest in the United States. It was opened in 1637, and we saw a bunch of tombstones from like the 1700s. This is also home to the Salem Witch Trials Memorial. I always need a sweet treat, so we stopped in at Funhouse Donuts. They had a bunch of hocus pocus themed donuts, which was so cute. We ended up getting like a Fruity Pebbles one. It was honestly a great little pick-me-up, especially because it was raining out. And then our last stop was Proctor's Ledge. A team of researchers actually found the evidence in 2010 to prove that this is where 19 of the innocent people of the witch trials were executed in 1692, and they created the Proctor's Ledge as a memorial. I talked to a local while we were there who told us that John Proctor, one of the individuals who was executed there, it was actually his land, which is why it's named Proctor's Ledge. I wanted to also share with you guys the things that we got. I feel like every time I see a Salem vlog online, they also share the items that they got. That way, maybe if you're interested in visiting, you kind of know where to get these items ahead of time. So first thing is very niche if you like what we do in the shadows, but these pop Funkos are really hard to find online. They go for like $50 to $100, and I got this for like, let's see, got it for $14.95, and it is a Nandor one. They also had a Colin Robinson one, but I really just want to get Laszlo and Nadia, so got that. That is a fire chief, and he's been a firefighter for almost 20 years, maybe even more than 20. Anytime they go anywhere, he collects a badge, like a fire badge, like a, what are these, like an applique? A patch. And so anytime we go anywhere, we get him one. I thought this one was so cool. Then at Blackcraft, which was the coffee shop we went to, I got this postcard, and then I also got this magnet, but it's almost like a sticker magnet, so pick that up. And then I also got these socks because I had to. I thought they were so funny, and I don't really have any Halloween socks. I thought these were very on brand for me, so very excited to wear those. Witch City Wicks was another one of our favorite gift shops. Got a magnet there, as well as they had matches, which are so hard to find, but we love to collect matches when we travel. So we got this one with some ghosts on it. This one, which I'm gonna give to my mom. I got her like a little goodie bag. I'm gonna make her a little boo basket because she's always wanted to go to Salem, and I love to spoil my mom because honestly, without her, I literally wouldn't be here. So these pumpkin head matches that are longer. We just go through a lot of matches because we like to have candles lit, especially in the fall. Then at Mary Mento, we picked up this badge applique to put in our memory box, or maybe, I don't know, we're thinking about making like a patch like artwork in a frame, so we picked that up. And these are the items I got my mom. My mom loves the East Coast. She went to school out there, so I thought that this was just kind of a nice blend of her two favorite things, which I get my love of witches from her. We got this at Moon's gift shop. I showed it in the vlog, but it's this seashell, and the artist paints, you know, little Halloween scenes, whether it's a witch or a ghost or a bat. And then at Moon's gift shop, I also got her this little good luck witch, which I thought was really cute, and you can read the little quote they give you. And then, as you guys know, we don't have Trader Joe's in Canada, so we just picked up a few little things. We got some pumpkin ale. We have pumpkin ale in Canada, but we love to try new ones. Some pumpkin spice bear bells, this cinnamon buns bread, which felt really nice and fall with some apples, and then the famous pumpkin pancake and waffle mix. So those were all the goodies that we got in Salem, in case you guys are interested in kind of where we got them from. Hello, you guys. We're back home. I apologize if my voice sounds rough. I was recording the voiceover for this video before work this morning, and my voice is struggling. I think it's just because we were dancing and yelling and singing and having so much fun at Brianna and Corey's wedding, and I'm just like a little run down from all the travel. So trying to relax and take it easy because I leave in like a day and a half for a work trip. I wanted to sit down with you guys, share some tips and tricks if you're planning a Salem trip. Just because I didn't see a ton of people talk about it. I feel like I saw a lot of like what to do in Salem, but not really any like tips and tricks about planning a trip. And I got a bunch of DMs from you guys that were either going later in September, October, or wanting to plan a trip for next year. So I thought it could be helpful if I came on here and just shared kind of some things that we learned on the trip. I feel like Salem is one of those spots that you could really make a super budget friendly trip. And I shared in the video that we stayed a little bit outside of Salem at a Marriott in, I think I said it wrong. I think it's Peabody. It's not Peabody. I learned that at the wedding actually from some New Englanders. It was about 5 to 10 minutes away from Salem, and it was a lot more affordable than staying right in Salem, especially during like peak tourist season. We were able to like go get groceries, and that way we could kind of snack and eat some food back at the hotel and not eat out for every meal. I definitely don't think you need a rental car. I had a few people DM me and say they wanted to come maybe from Europe and they weren't comfortable driving here. I definitely don't think that you need a car when you're in Salem. Drive from Boston to Salem is about 45 minutes, so it would be a bit of a longer Uber ride, a bit more expensive. But once you're in Salem or any of the surrounding areas, like a lot of people at our hotel were just taking Ubers into Salem. It's a really walkable city, and most things to do are along Essex Street. That is kind of like the core of Salem, where you have all your restaurants, your shops, and then to one side of Essex Street, so like the east side of Essex Street, if you're like looking at it, is like all the shops, museum, and then the west of Essex Street is going to be your historic district, the witch house, and all those things. And then if you go like south and north, there's other things to do. So I definitely think if you're staying right in Salem, you don't need a rental car. Of course, you'll just kind of have to take that Uber to and from Boston from the airport. Very walkable city. We were there on, let me just like pull up the exact date. Obviously, weather like will fluctuate year to year. I got a bunch of people asking like what the weather's gonna be like for Halloween. Of course, when you live in like the northeast part, North America, the weather can change a lot. It could literally snow on Halloween, or it could be, 30 degrees Celsius, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, like very drastic changes. This time of year was actually pretty exceptionally warm from what we're used to, at least in Ontario. We were there on September 19th and 20th. We landed like 1 in the morning on September 19th, and then we left midday on the 20th. That was the perfect time of year. I do think if you're gonna go, if you can, I know it's not always possible, but if you can avoid the weekend, it was pretty quiet. I saw a TikTok yesterday that someone had posted about the crowds in Salem on like the 21st, 22nd, which was the weekend, like right after we left, and the crowds were pretty busy, and you have to like wait to get into gift shops and wait to eat at restaurants. And we had no waits the entire time we were there. The stores weren't even that busy. You guys know I don't do well with crowds, just with like, my mental health. I was completely fine. I was a little bit worried, but I knew that we were going a bit earlier in September and we'd probably be okay. We didn't wait for any restaurants, any food, like peak dinner, breakfast times, no waits for gift shops. I can't speak for any of the museums though, which I'll get into that in a second, but everything else, like it wasn't really crowded at all. So I definitely think it's a good time of year to go. I got some questions on the foliage. A lot of the leaves haven't turned yet, but to me, and I was saying to people on Instagram that I was DMing with, that I would take lower crowds and no foliage versus like peak foliage and higher crowds. I don't know, it's probably gonna depend on the person, but as someone who just like doesn't do well with crowds, I would prefer that, but I definitely think it would be so magical to go in October. Of course, I will say a lot of the buildings hadn't decorated yet for Halloween, and a lot of TikToks you see like Rope's Mansion decorated with pumpkins and stuff, that hadn't happened yet. I was okay with going a little bit earlier if it meant, like I said, not waiting for things. I know some people are going to want to go later in the fall Halloween season so they can see all of that. There also, I don't know if it's mainly on weekends, but when we were there on Thursday night for dinner, there wasn't really anyone walking around. I know in a lot of TikToks you'll kind of see people dress up as like Halloween character, as like Pennywise, as like Dracula, Michael Myers, all these people, and walk around, and there wasn't any of that when we were there. There was a plague doctor walking around, which was pretty creepy, but there wasn't anything else. I don't know if that comes later in the season or just like on the weekends. I personally, once again, would take a little bit less decorations for lower crowds, but if you want to go kind of like peak pumpkin decorations and stuff, I'd probably say go in October. Like I mentioned, we didn't do any of the museums while we were there. One, we just didn't have a lot of time. Like I mentioned, we landed at 1 a.m. on Thursday morning, and then we slept into like literally 10 or 11. We went and grabbed coffee, and then we did a grocery run. We had to run some errands for the wedding. Then we went and took a nap, and then we went into Salem in the evening. Technically, we were in Salem doing touristy things for about 24 hours from like Thursday afternoon. I love looking up Reddit threads in terms of like travel, especially from locals and tips and tricks. And a lot of people said like it wasn't necessarily like a scam or a sham, but I'm someone who was like obsessed with the witch trials as a kid. I know I am like, I've been bullied for this my whole life. I'm such a weirdo. I love Halloween in the sense that like I love the history of it. I was obsessed with witches. I knew everything there was to know about the witch trials, and so I didn't feel the need to go to the museum and learn about them just because I had already kind of learned so much, and a lot of people were saying like it's kind of general knowledge that you know. However, if you don't know anything about them, maybe it would be a fun thing to do. I also will say that the witch trials website and the witch house website have a ton of free information for you in terms of like self-guided tours and just like history about some of the houses in the historic district, which is kind of what we prefer to do. Put together like a list of places we want to go, write down some history about it, and then chat about it as we're on like kind of our own self-guided walking tour. Also a great like budget-friendly way to do it if you don't want to pay for any museums and stuff. The food we had in Salem in general was absolutely amazing. You have to go to Rockefeller's. The food was
absolutely insane. I had the marinated steak tips, and he said they are the best steak tips he's ever had in his life. And I had like a fried pickle chicken sandwich. The chicken was like brined in pickle juice, like the like breading of it, and it was absolutely divine. I had like a autumn cinnamon Aperol spritz. It was amazing. Everything is just themed so well there. Our ice cream at Dairy Witch was amazing. If you have a car, I highly recommend. It's like about a few minutes kind of on your way out of Salem back into, I'm going to keep saying Peabody, but I know that's not the right way to say it. Typical, like looked like something out of like the 70s, 80s, just like a tiny little hole in the wall ice cream like box. And it was so good. Their pumpkin soft serve was absolutely incredible. We also had bagels at Jaho. They have a few locations. I think we went to one that was kind of on the outskirts of Salem, and I don't think I got any vlog clips, but their bagels were really, really yummy. Their coffee was good. It wasn't great, but their bagels were absolutely delicious. But yeah, Rockefeller's, highly recommend. Flying Saucer Pizza also looked really cool. They had a bunch of themed cocktails. They had a Scarlet Witch cocktail. We just obviously were only there for one dinner, so we chose to go to Rockefeller's. A lot of these things I think I covered, like how busy it was. When asked what our favorite free thing that we did was, and it was honestly walking around the historic district and just taking in a lot of the sites ourselves. A lot of the landmarks you can like walk by, read signs about, and like I said, they do a really good job at making things accessible and affordable and free, really, to like learn the history of something without having to like pay for a tour. It's very easy to create your own kind of like self-guided walking tour, and I'm sure there's probably podcasts or YouTube videos on like guided walking tours of Salem. Honestly, our favorite thing to do was just to walk around and kind of like do things at our own pace and take in like the history and learn about it. Best part of Salem, I have to say, was just the overall theming. As someone who, like I said, loves Halloween and loves witches, it was so cool to be somewhere where Halloween is embraced, and it's really just like a lifestyle there, and it was just truly one of the best trips we've ever been on. Would love to know how you planned your trip to Salem. Honestly, TikTok has a bunch of great resources. Like if you look up like Salem itineraries, Reddit, or just like blog posts. I'll link one blog post that was really helpful down below. But I think anywhere you travel, you're always gonna have priorities, and for us, it's always coffee, baked goods, like sweets, a bookstore, and just like shops, flea markets. Like those are our interests. So I think anytime you're going anywhere, it's just important to like look up your interests and like what to do there, right? So we looked up Salem bookstore, Salem coffee shop, Salem flea market, Salem antique stores, Salem boutiques. We also typically try to look up like any historical monuments or landmarks, which of course there's a lot of. It's a very rich history place to be if you love history like we do. We love architecture, old architecture, and just like antique things. So it was really our vibe. That's kind of how we plan our trips. For example, if you were really into fine dining, you would look up, you know, like Salem fine dining. Or if you wanted to go to a brewery, look up Salem brewery, or just kind of make note of what your interests are and what you like to do when you go on trips. That's kind of how we go about planning our trips. And like I said, I'll leave that blog post that I have down below. I also filmed a like 24 hours in Salem rapid fire TikTok with all the places we went, so I'll link that too. Okay, I got a lot of people asking how many days they think they need, which was something that we struggled with. I feel like we do things kind of at like a fast leisure pace, and I don't really know how to explain that, but we can do things as fast as we need to or as leisurely as we need to. And I think 1 or 2 days is all you need. It is one of those spots that you could for sure fit most things in one day, especially if you have a car. If you have 1 day to jam pack, I think you can do everything. If you're there for 2 days, I definitely think you can spread it out over 2 days. And I don't think you really need longer than that. If you don't have a rental car, maybe 2 days just so you can walk a little bit further. I definitely don't think more than 2 days are needed, and you can definitely fit it into 1 day, in my opinion. Anything you wish you did in Salem, plan to do next time? Yeah, so it was raining on and off pretty much the entire trip, and it was super windy, so there was a lot of outdoor things that we didn't get to do. In terms of filming locations for Hocus Pocus, we didn't have time to go to Max's house, which, please note, it is a private residence. A lot of people take photos. I think they're okay with it from what I've seen online, but it is a private residence. We also didn't have time to go to Pioneer Village, which is just located on the outskirts of Salem, and that is Thackeray's Village, which is what you see in the opening credits of the movie. And then I believe the cemetery during the day in Hocus Pocus was filmed at the Old Burial Hill Cemetery, and that's actually located in Marblehead, which is just a few minutes away. I also really wanted to go to the Rebecca Nurse homestead, but we didn't have time. That's located in Danvers. It's about 20 minutes northwest of Salem. Rebecca's nurse was one of the individuals who was executed at Proctor's Ledge at Gallows Hill, and so you can go visit her homestead that she had with her husband. They had like a 300-acre farm, and it's open to the public on Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So we wouldn't have had the chance to go on that trip, but if we ever go back in the future, I would love to go visit it. We also didn't get to go to the House of Seven Gables, which is a like 1600s colonial mansion in Salem, kind of along the water. It's actually made famous by Nathaniel Hawthorne, who wrote a book in 1851 called The House of the Seven Gables.
tables. I would have also loved to do maybe a haunted walk at night, but we were honestly so tired from the time change. I really wish we had done it, but that's definitely kind of some of the items that are on our list for next time. As always, feel free to DM me on Instagram if you have any questions, comment down below. More than happy to kind of like help you guys out. Hopefully that answered some questions. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you in the next one.